you know, there's a lot of things that can be done. I know there's things being done at this current moment, at this time, in the Tuatha Church in general. Xavier Meskin for that. Doing this for a long time, I'm seeing changes. There was moments in my life I remember when doing this, and when I say this, I speak from love. There was moments where I was thinking to myself, what are we doing? Where are we going? I was praying to God for more English-speaking diaconate, more, young people to step up. I thought to myself, this is back in the day. I'm talking about like late 90s, even early 2000s. I was observing things and I said to myself, the beauty of our youth, I noticed from my experiences, and my experience is that the youth are hungry. They're hungry to learn about the church.
Mm.
And I visited many churches throughout North America, and there's a common denominator speaking to youth one on one in Cuba is I would say 98% of the time I get positive feedback. The positive feedback is whether it's in the Eritrean Orthodox Church, Ethiopian Orthodox Water Church, in the Habesha Church, generally I hear the same thing. There's a common denominator. Kessis, we love our church. We want to know more, but we don't know our native language.
Mm.
Throughout the years, this keeps coming up over and over again. Back in the day, there wasn't many, we didn't have any priests doing this. We didn't have diakona doing the English ministry. So imagine being alone, right? Not getting that support. It was hard. And to add to that, my beloved father, you're getting pushback from the older generation, right? The older generation are saying it's coming out of good intent. Some of
Mm.
them are like, no, we don't want our faith to change. Some of them felt like it was like the tahadduso, right? But this is not tahadduso, of course not, right? When we use English, they thought like we're changing the church. So there was a lot of pushback. It was an uphill battle. To get to this position, it was a lot of uphill battle. And a lot of the younger generation, they have no clue what we went through back in the day. To pave the way for English, it was difficult. It was hard. But now Xavier Miskin, what I see online, young diaconats, coming up, young priests coming up, Xavier Miskin. And what I'm noticing is what I keep seeing in churches, and speaking to parents, even churches, is that we all have a role to play. Number one, and I know there's a misunderstanding or misconception sometimes, the number one foundation is at home, period.
Mm.
It's not the church, because many times we hear parents saying, for example, let's take our kids to Sunday school, drop them off there. Sunday school is going to teach them. No, 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 no. Listen, Sunday school will teach them, yes. Will teach them, yes. But the foundation is at home. Why do I say that? I'll give you from my own personal experience. And I remember I experienced this, and I know a lot of abotat and church leaders experience this too. I remember one situation where I was teaching in a church about Abiselom. I taught the youth. There was high schoolers, young adults, university students. And to be honest with you, my beloved father, they were happy. They're like, wow, this is why we fast 55 days. I was a diakon, I remember. They were so happy, like, thank you, diakon. We had Q&A. And some of the young people, they're like, you know what? I've never fasted, but I'm going to fast this fast. That's very good. I was happy. Fast forward 1 week later, we had the Sunday school, and one of the young ladies, she puts up her hand. She goes, Diakon, can I just say something in front of everyone? I go, yeah. And it was a Sunday school. She goes, I started fasting Abitzom, but I stopped in between. I said, honey, what happened? What's going on? And literally, this is what she said to me in front of everyone. She goes, my mom said, Atatamiti?
Mm.
Let me translate that. She said, you're bony. My mom said, you're bony. God sees your heart. You need to drink milk. I said to my mom, no, I can't drink milk, mama. No, I have to fast. And her mom, she insisted. She goes, you know what? I broke my fast. She had her head down. Another young man puts up his hand. Same similar story. I said to myself, what are we doing? The foundation starts at home. So my point here is that always Masarat, the foundation is at home. Parents need to be active, especially now in this zaman, in this era that we're living. It's not like back in the day. I grew up here in the society and I know it very well. Even the time that I grew up, the high school days, middle school days, times are changing completely. They're not getting better. They're getting worse. And now is the time where we need to work, especially as parents. Parents need to sit down with their kids at a young age and start talking to them about the Bible, the scriptures, Tohado Haimanot, having conversation. And to be honest with you, and I mentioned this in the beginning, Without my mom sitting with us, my siblings, and teaching us, the basic things about the Tawaheed Church, Mezhab Kudus, Sirate Bete Christian, our Bahali, our culture, you would not have Kasis Hermon standing in front of you today.
mm,
So my point is, it always goes back to the foundation at home. And speaking to a lot of parents nowadays, it's unfortunate. I get things like, yeah, I know Kasis Hermon, but I'm busy. We're busy. We're paying mortgage. We have to send money back home. Life is busy. I understand that and I respect that. But what's more important, your kids or your time at work or being so extremely busy to the point that you're not spending time with your kids? Every moment counts. It's okay to be busy, but you got to allocate time for your kids to have conversations with them regarding the church, regarding the culture, not only the Habeshan culture, but also the environment here in our society. We need to have a discussion with our kids about that. Just incremental. I call it incremental discussions about different topics. It could be social media. It could be LGBT. It could be the music industry. If parents could sit down and have conversation with their kids at a young age, it would be really helpful. That's the first aspect, the first part. The second part is the church. I feel like, from my experience, the church, I know we're getting there, but we need to do more. Meaning, the church, our church is a beautiful church. Our church, I always say, is not only a church, it's a library. We're very blessed and fortunate to be part of this Orthodox Tewahedo church. But now we're facing different types of fetana, right? In our society, especially the younger generation. So, how do we, the church I'm talking about now, how does the church communicate with the younger generation? What do I mean by communicate? Number one, there's a language gap. How does the church? I know our ancient language is Ge'ez. Of course, we're not going to deviate from Ge'ez. We love Ge'ez. We love our Haimanot. We love our language. But without deviating from Ge'ez and our ancient language, how can we use modern language, for example, the Western language of English, to teach our youth? So let's do more programs in English. Our church needs to do more programs in English. That's number one, in a language that our youth are going to understand, the young adults are going to understand. Number two, the church and parents need to do more homework regarding the environment that we live in, the society, what's happening in the music industry, what is happening in our society, what laws are being passed. So I think we need to have a team within the church, under kahanat, under sebeka gubae, to do research and also implement programs within the church, to have like conferences for the parents, and also even for Walid Kahinat, for the fathers, to share with them. We have likam, but to share with them things that are happening in our society. Because I feel like if we're all educated and we're all in the same level of understanding, it will be more easier to teach the younger generation. So the parents have a role, the church has also a role, because there's many things that we need to talk about, many fetanas that the younger generation is going through, and we really need to step up and start talking about these things. But like I said before, start talking to our kids, and at a younger age, and do our best. And last thing I want to add to this is, I meet parents where they tell me, Kasis, you are right, Abik Ashi, but we don't know much about the Tewahedo church. What do we teach our kids? I love that question. Why? And I'll use my mom as an example. My mom wasn't leak. My parents weren't leak. They knew the basics of the Tewahedo church. My mom knew the 10 Commandments. My parents knew the basic things. They taught the basic things to us about the Tewahedo church, about like Tzom, Sigdet, about the 10 Commandments. But they continuously repeated that
mm,
in their conversation. And my mom, like I said before, she would use examples of Adina, the way she was raised, funny stories, realistic stories. And she would intertwine those stories with Mezhab Kudus, with honoring your parents, with thou shalt not steal. So those things were embedded in our mind. And that helped us out throughout our lives. And especially for me, like I said before, growing up in that environment, that ghetto environment.
mm,
So it goes a long way, even to teach them the basic things that like thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. Use those commandments and expound on them and say, Na'amuz wadde, Na'amuz agwale, come, here, my son. What does that mean? How can you implement that in our society? Honoring your parents also means, my son, honoring to your teachers, honoring your grandparents. Expound on it and share, like, intertwine some funny stories with that to captivate the child. And I guarantee you, you start from a young age, that child will remain faithful and grow spiritually.